Alex, welcome to our podcast. It's lovely to have you. So let's talk about CrossFit.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you've been with us a while now. So
yeah.
When did you start?
October last year. So that's 2023, isn't it now? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So a whole year now.
Fantastic.
Been absolutely loving it.
Yeah. So what drew? Because you've been involved in fitness before. I'd like to hear about that as well. But what drew you to CrossFit, and how did you come across it?
So I think I've seen it before and been really interested and drawn to it. I've always really struggled with my weight and my eating and that sort of stuff. I found it very easy to be very dedicated towards training, but then with the flip side of the dedication comes the completely falling off the wagon X month later. So I sort of found that I'd get very lean and then get very overweight, and then also with that weight struggle, then you sort of start feeling the difficulties with your mental health and those sorts of things. So being active and passionate about sport in that regard, I think is been something that I've always really tried to maintain a focus on when I can. And when I was working in London as a chef, I used to train at a gym just outside of Mayfair, and I had a fantastic trainer who was basically trying to get his personal training qualifications, but he was in amazing shape, and he really sort of focused on sort of the elements of CrossFit without being CrossFit, and there was loads of functional movement. He was always making the training very interesting and like very, almost in a way, chaotic. And not that just standard, you go in here, do this rep range, run on this,
it's that wonderful variance that we bang on about here.
And so I knew that was what CrossFit was, and so I always had this like massive draw to do it. And then I'd never been in a position where a box was anywhere near where I was either living or where I was working. And then I drove to work one day and saw the Silverbeard emblem on a signpost, and I think about 3 days later I came in, and then I've never looked back. And I think I convinced myself that what I was going to do was come and do your 3 day a week training regime, and that I would sort of split it across 3 days out of 5 of my training, and then I'd be in the other gym and either lift weights or focus on cardio. And then I think after 3 sessions I then realized that it was going to be all my focus.
Absolutely.
And then that transition happened, and I don't think I've ever looked back.
No, I don't think you have, and I don't think apart from when you're away for your wedding, I don't think you've been away from the box more than about a week. I think that'd be fair. It's basically, it was something, everything that I'd ever thought I'd want to do in training, it was and it is. And more, to be fair. And then such a great environment and such lovely people to train with that for me it's like now become something that I want to do forever. And you're one of those members that is such a lovely part of the community, because you don't just come to one time. You come in at 6 a.m. sometimes. You've been in the later classes as well. You do use the open gym every now and again, or you kind of like finish work, and especially when we had the open, you'd come in and there were times where you couldn't make it, so you couldn't do it with the rest of the group, and then you rock up outside of the time and still put in an absolute blistering workout, for that. And I think that's such a great thing to do. It can be really hard, right? Because no matter how much we don't want it to be, sometimes certain times become your routine. And you want to go, right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to stay in this routine. And we forget as coaches sometimes that you don't meet everybody else within the community. We assume that everybody knows everybody, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you only know the 12 to 15 people that you would regularly see at 6 a.m. But you're in that quite luxurious position that you know quite a lot of people, because you come to lots of different times. So that must be quite cool as well.
Oh no, I love that. And I think within that there are, I think there's like a different, almost a different vibe of what those people are after in that particular moment. But that, that could be
from either any class time on any day of the week, but then when you get to sort of intermingle with all of it, it's such a great environment to be with, and you just meet some really cool people. And for me, it's everyone's always cheering you on, whatever that you're doing. So if you're in a group where you might finish faster or than others, then that's you that supports everyone else around
Absolutely.
you. Or if you're in a group where maybe you aren't the quickest, or completing it, in that sort of window,
and
they're cheering you on.
That relativeness.
Yeah.
And we spoke about that a little bit just before we started this, and we were saying that there's relative load and relative intensity, because certain people's intensity is far greater than your own.
Yeah.
And then you have the other end of the scale, those that are potentially brand new, may have done any fitness before. What you would class as going slow would be their 100%. Yet you're all in the same room. Somehow you'll manage to roughly finish about the same sort of time, or within that sort of time frame. But like you say, it doesn't ever, and we've spoken about this before, like when I've spoken this with other members, it's never really, we're never really interested who comes first.
No.
It's always kind of who's finishing up last. And when you look around the room and everybody's either lying on the floor or kneeling or breathing heavy, and instead of worrying about what's going on with your own personal things like picking up your gear and stuff like that, everybody immediately turns to the person and is just so supportive. And I think we have the lead on that.
I think that's what makes Silverbeard one of the best places to train. And I think almost in some regards, as you touched upon, you can burn through a workout and maybe you should have pushed yourself a little bit harder, or been more disciplined with form or something like that. But when you turn around and see one of your other gym mates really sending it, that's just a wicked.
Yeah.
It's a wicked thing to be
you
a
would
part
think
of.
that it would be, because I suppose in other gym environments you don't really get that.
No.
There are very rare occasions in any other gym setting where, and even in studio settings and things like that, although you're maybe potentially following a routine, there'll be those that try a little bit harder, but those that will always require a little bit more. Whereas I think here we're in that wonderful, almost good grey area. We're all sending it in our own little way, and we're all kind of really, really, we want to get better at everything. And like you say, that technicality that we're chasing all the time, you don't get that anywhere else.
No, you don't.
No. And I think that's quite an interesting concept, and especially for those that have never experienced it. Now, our community is growing and we've got lots of new people coming in, and it helps to have people who have been doing it a year, because they're going to talk to you more than they will most of the time us, because you have that kind of little social bit either at the beginning or at the end where you kind of talk about your experiences. And I have to be honest, I don't really very often have to sell what we have here, because our community does it for us. So have you ever found that anybody's come to you and spoken to you about it? Have you spoken to anybody about CrossFit when they first come in, when you've had someone new in? Have you ever had that experience where you've been able to talk to people?
Well, I think the prime example of that is, in the 6 a.m. crew. Obviously, at the moment, I've been flitting about a bit and doing different times. But coming back to the 6 a.m. team after getting married, there's a couple of new faces in there, and some of those were new when I met them, and to sort of like chat to them after their first few sessions and then be like, wow, this is like hitting everything all the time, and how much they then realize that they're enjoying that, and that's the same thing that you get from it. Does
it kind of make you feel like a bit like a veteran?
It does make you feel a bit like a veteran.
Is it meant to hurt like that? And you go, yes, yes, it is.
and it always makes you smile, and I think it's a great thing. But then obviously you get to look at some of the big dogs in the CrossFit world and then realize how far your journey is that you want to go down. And I think that's such a great thing that you're sort of all there supporting one another and then tackling it.
And I suppose it's something to think about as well, the difference in between the sport as a whole, because the sporting side has its place. It really does. It's what draws most people in. So when we first started talking, you said you'd seen CrossFit. What was your first experience of CrossFit? Was that online? Was it kind of watching the games or something like that, or was it exposure that way?
Do you know what, being totally honest, my first exposure to CrossFit is really you guys, and and I didn't know anything about the games. I didn't know anything about any of the athletes. To me, it was, you know, the trainer that I had in London really just instilled into me like cross-functional movements and just like different workout styles. So we did stuff with sort of these logs that you'd throw up and down, and then you'd do burpees over them and drag them across the floor, and then kettlebells and stuff like that was like heavy heart rate and keeping you moving. And for me, that was what I perceived CrossFit was, that it was just this like cross-functional movement thing that sort of was very effective. And then equally, you sort of like you hear that CrossFit athlete, you know, even though I never watched the games or wasn't following it as a sport, you know, whenever you see here's like the world's fittest athletes, it's like below that thing is, oh, they do CrossFit. And I you know, in terms of looking at my own like well-being, I was, you know, I wanted to be fitter in my mind, and fitter in my body, but I care how I look in terms of when I'm feeling very overweight and things like that, and that not making me feel comfortable. But other than that, I'm not really that bothered.
So because I find that, so I had obviously a experience within the bodybuilding world in my younger days, and I find that I found that a really difficult environment to be in, because everything is about aesthetics. It's everything about how you look, whether you're symmetrical, how much you can lift. You know, no one's interested in your form, but your form is after the number or how you look. Was it that side of things that you were sort of struggling with on that? Is that kind of, was it the aesthetic? No,
I think it really it reminds me back to a song lyric, and it really the lyric was be someone who someone would want to be.
Right. And
it was like always really resonated with me when I went through difficult things, you know, in my life. It was, how do you wake up today and do something that's going to make you better for yourself? And it's not like being in an egotistical way of being like, how do I be someone who someone would want to be because I'm got loads of money and I look attractive and those sorts of things. It's like, how do you create yourself as someone who someone would aspire to be in? And CrossFit, in my perception of that, was a way to do that in a sporting environment, because it will hit everything. And the proof of that, of what very little I knew about it, was these people who are exceptional at stuff, at everything, are CrossFitters. And I was like,
who wouldn't
let's
want
go and do that.
And
that literally, and then that just literally was a case of, I really want to do it. And
although I say that flippantly, I do mean that. Who wouldn't want to be the best version of themselves? Because therein lies. So there's an article written by Greg Glassman, who is the creator. Basically, he's the guy who wrote the methodology, and it's called "What is Fitness?" And he looks at initially in its first couple of paragraphs as, do we class people who do marathons as the fittest? Or do we class people who do ultra marathons or triathletes or sprinters? You know, are they the fittest human beings, or are they specialists? And 9 times out of 10, when we look at people who are probably the most famous, so if you look at like cyclists, you know, looking at Matthew Van Der Poel, Tom Pidcock, people like that, who are exceptional cyclists. But they're exceptional cyclists. They're not, you know, you and I could probably jump up in that bar and do more pull-ups than they could. But do you see what I mean? And there's that difference in that. And I think that CrossFit hits exactly what you're talking about, because it covers everything. It covers that weightlifting, covers the gymnastics. I could stick you on a bike and send you out on a 30-mile bike ride. You probably wouldn't think that much of it.
Do you know, I actually did one the other day.
Oh, there you go.
Do you know, I thought, I was like, oh, this might be a challenge because some of our efforts aren't for that duration of time.
Yeah.
But no, it was fine.
Yeah. And then you think, oh, I can, and without training, right?
Yeah.
Without specifically training for something. And that's great because we get into that kind of thing about sport specifics. Now, I think sport specifics have their place depending on what sport you're doing. But I think across the board, in huge amounts of sports, when CrossFit is introduced as a fitness regime, like for rugby, for football, for American football, basketball and stuff like that, all of a sudden people have an amazing ability to just get better at their regular sport if they're doing CrossFit alongside of it.
Well, when I look at it, you know, and obviously you're the coach, but in my perception of it, you know, do I want to get more mobile? Yes. Do I want to get stronger? That would be great. Would I like to be fitter? Do I want to understand what hurts and have the mental fortitude to push through it? And you know, and CrossFit hits all of those sorts of things. Yeah. I could stand in a gym and do 5 sets of bench press, or I could do what you made us do the other day and do ring push-ups and then go out running and then come back and do chin-ups, and all of a sudden, like, everything's just got abused in
all in one go.
All in one go.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's just, I was very naive when I came into CrossFit as to what CrossFit was. Because of, you know, not really knowing that much about the sport. But actually I think it's so much more than what you originally perceive it as. And when you actually, you do get that training element of it, and then there's the family around it, and then there's the support network of it, you can really see why people say it's a cult, or while when you do CrossFit, you talk about it all the time.
Yeah. You can't help it, can you?
No.
Because it does have a profound effect. And I suppose that is the thing. And I'm paraphrasing slightly, but Greg said, you know, the greatest change in anyone who does CrossFit is in between the ears. It's not your ability to lift weight or jump or throw or anything else like that. It's what you're able to do in here. And I think everybody I've spoken to, everybody that's sat across from me there in front of that other microphone, has said that they definitively do CrossFit for their mental well-being. You know, it's not necessarily, you know, yes, obviously it's nice to, you know, have a body that's desirable, you know, either for yourself or for someone else or anything else like that. But I think when you do something like CrossFit, or train in the way that we do, it changes your mindset, and it has such a wonderful effect on, I mean, I know I certainly feel that. Do you kind of find that within yourself?
100%. And I think that's what gives me that strength and drive to crack on with everything else. And does it help with work? Because I'm interested, because you have quite a high pressure job. Yeah, it's very difficult. We sort of working in an industry where everything goes wrong all the time, and you're sort of just like juggling plates across hundreds of different avenues. And it is one of those things where, you know, either on that 6 a.m. class or the evening one, where you know it's going to either cap off the end of your day, or give you that sort of mental resilience of where you're going to go.
Yeah, because you're at either end of the scale. You either got your training done and it set you up for the rest of the day, and I suppose that anything that's coming towards you in that day, you can almost look back and go, I've already done the hard bit. The rest of this is, you know, this is just my work day and everything else. And then I suppose you've got the other end of the things. Whereas if you're coming in at the 5:30, you've done your day, and you kind of come here for that last little bit of release where you kind of wash away the day, get a bit of a sweat on, get changed, have a shower, go home, and you're kind of already, you're then there again, aren't you? Ready for food and time, you know, with your now wife.
Yeah, it lets you reset, I think, and it's so important. And I think also, you know, you can get quite tired with life, you know, not in a dark way, but just in terms of, you know, it's work is quite busy. You know, home lives and things can be challenging, and you know, it sort of it builds on you, and you can come to the box and be in one of those things where I am physically tired, which is usually on a Friday after you've battered me for the whole week. But that aside, you can come into something and you can see something on the board and you can just go into full send, and you could do that at whatever level you're at, and but you can just take something to another level. I mean, you know, I think for me, I think one of the most profound experiences here was one of the hero workouts that we did for you, and that just was like, took me to somewhere else, and that was like you're and do you know
everything. What I'm actually really looking forward to next year, because repeating Aidan's workout,
it'll be mad. Even now, just thinking about it, just it's
because
like,
I think we set it, and when I did it, and I did like a little pre-run, and I was like, right, I know it takes that long to do this, and I know it takes about sort of this many minutes to do that, and I thought 40 minutes is about kind of where we need to be at. And then when we got to 40 minutes and there was like, people had like maybe 4 or 5 minutes left, everyone was like, no, we're going to finish it. We're going to get it through. So I know that now the time frame needs to extend slightly, but I have a feeling that those that experienced it last year are going to we're going to finish this within the original time cap. And we'll be kind of going, right, this is what we're aiming for. And for me, that carry on sense of fitness, you know, that because it is what it's about that fitness, but doing it for a cause sometimes, or doing it in a memory of someone, just gives you that extra edge. And I think, again, having hero workouts are such a wonderful element to it, because it's not a case of you're against anyone. It's like, we're going to remember this person for what they did or who they were, and we're just going to go, right, this is what we're going to do, this is what it is. We don't really have any way of saying, you know, obviously we can scale it and we can look at how you can break it up in a different way, and then there's a way where you do it as it says, as prescribed, which is what RX stands for. And to watch people throw themselves into that, the first time round was wonderful. The second time round for me will be wonderful because everyone will have got a little bit fitter, and
it'll be
a wonderful event to watch those that knew what time they got last time, and they know where they got to speed up, they know where they got to slow down, and know where they got to pace, and they know where they got to kind of really, really push. And it's really good. I don't often kind of wish time away, but I can't wait for that to come round. That would be a really, really good one.
I sit here now being slightly daunted because I know that when I did that, I just like switched off and was just and
we spoke about that before you did it.
I'm like, I think I might have set something that even with like a year's worth of work, absolutely. Maybe I won't get there, but I probably will. But it's that I think that when I come into it again, I think, you know, it's like that major sportsman before you go and play in the, you know, the Six Nations or a World Cup final or something like that. I'm going to come in there with that anxiety of course you did this last time, and now you've got to go one step.
And we laugh, don't we? We laugh about a lot, you know, and I have become a master at it, like the whole workout anxiety thing. You know, you kind of build it up, and even I think even now, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with me, that when I say 10 seconds and the room goes quiet and everyone goes,
heart rate goes up,
and everyone's looking at their watches going, 150, I'm not even doing anything. It's like,
it's definitely a thing.
I'd love to actually see the metrics on that. I'd love to, like, across the board. I'm a numbers person when it goes. I love data,
me too.
but I don't like to get buried in it, because otherwise, it just takes up all my time. And I'd love to see what the metrics are, that when I say 10 seconds, I'd love to see what the heart rate spike would be before anybody does actually any physical, you know, because obviously you get a little bit of time in between the specific and then you get the workout, and then you kind of like, I would love to see what the heart rate data was on that.
I reckon it's a solid 10-20 beats per minute uplift.
Easy.
Just like
yeah.
Especially if the pre-workout has been something that's like quite intense. And you know, like I think I probably even would have had it this morning with the toes to bar, because with, you know, having recently progressed nicely in the kit, which is, it's taken a long time, but like when that starts clicking and you start making that next step with it,
that rhythm, right?
And to start hitting the toes to bar this morning, and then you're like, oh yeah, what was it? It was like try 5, and then you do 5, and then I'm like, wow, I've done this, and then it's like, right now do 8 to 10 in a row, and I do 8 to 10, and I'm like, oh my god, I just did 8 to 10, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's finished. Give 5 seconds and we're sending, and now it's 21. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, and then because the anticipation, right? Yeah. You're so pleased with yourself because you're like, yes, I've hit that. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
That now means I've got to do that in the workout, right?
Yeah.
And it's that realization that we go, oh, I've now got that skill. That means I've got to use it.
Oh, the double unders as well. I mean, the transition from day one of not being able to skip at all, and then getting, like, I think I just bought every rope available, and then sort of I tried them all, and after like a weekend of just trying it for hours and hours, I then started getting the singles, and then from that, obviously the doubles is not quite there, but this week actually being able to sort of hit 10, 12 in a row was just like,
this is it.
It was mega.
And I think it's odd, isn't it, where, let's face it, it's just jumping up and down.
Yeah.
Right? And swing your arms around a little bit. It's such a technical move. I always say, I call it frustration station, because it always is. No matter who you are, you could be the most level-headed person. Put a skipping rope in someone's hands, they just turn into a mess all of a sudden. If you can't do it, and it's a practice, and it's a timing thing. And 9 times out of 10, it can be an avoidance thing. Yeah. And other times it's just a timing issue. We'll avoid something sometimes, and I like that about what we do and how we train. And it's not really random, right? Because we were saying, like, the variance on it, so it's varied, not random.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way we have to look at it. And we kind of go, right, well, we're going to work on this, and you go, oh, I haven't done that in a couple of weeks. How have I still got the skill? Because obviously we've got so many exercises that we then try this, try that. I've got that skill. And when you come back to it, have you still got that skill? And I think double unders have won.
Yeah.
They are the one. There are some days, regardless of how long you've been doing them, where double unders go like that, and they happen. And you can do loads of them. You're like, yes, get into the workout. Can't do one.
Yeah. I'm longing for the day when they're there. And that would be great.
When you can relax into them, right, and just snap off, like,
and not
20,
get too
25.
excited to just get my hands wider and wider. I'm doing it.
Yeah, damn it. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think, you touch on variance in workout. I think that's another wonderful thing about CrossFit is, like, some weeks may be heavy on legs, some weeks might not be, some weeks might be back orientated, some weeks might be everything. And
not forgetting the good old body weight workouts as well.
And so it's just like you don't even have to. All you have to think about is committing yourself to what you're about to try and achieve.
Yeah.
The people around you enjoying themselves as much as you, and that's it.
That's it. Turning up, having fun.
Yeah.
Send it. Eat lots of good, decent food at the end of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely,
and then go.
Absolutely. Alex, it's been absolutely great talking to you. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you certainly will.
Absolutely.
6 a.m.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate.